My new car had finally arrived. It was a 2023 Ford Maverick, the first truck I'd ever bought. I'd only driven it around the block once when this woman came running up to me in the street, waving her arms and screaming at me. "You hit my mailbox. You hit my mailbox," she said frantically. "I didn't hit your mailbox," I responded. "I just got home with my new truck. I only drove it around the block." "Well, there's a trail of black paint that leads directly to your front door," she said, pointing to my brand new truck. And sure enough, there was a line of black paint that went from the mailbox all the way to my driveway. "That's not my fault," I said. "I just backed out of the driveway very slowly. If you think I did it on purpose, then get a life. How dare you speak to me like that? I am gone. Have you know that I am the president of the and I'll have you know that I am gone. Fine you for hitting my mailbox," she said. Then she stormed off to call the cops. Well, I thought to myself, it's not like they're gonna find me guilty for something I didn't do. But still, I thought I should go check on my mail. And sure enough, most of it was destroyed. And that was when I noticed that she had also run over my brand new welcome mat. This woman, who I now knew was the president of the HOA, was probably going to fine me for destroying my own welcome mat. So I decided to get a new one. But what I didn't know yet was that she would come to absolutely despise me. The next day, I went to Home Depot and bought a brand new welcome mat. The lady who helped me pick it out thought it was hilarious. "So are you trying to make a statement?" she asked, laughing. I wasn't making a statement. I just needed a new welcome mat because the old one had been destroyed by a Karen. But when I got home and put out the new welcome mat, I realized that I hadn't really thought this through. Because while the original welcome mat had said welcome, the new one said beware of dog. And since I didn't have a dog, it kinda just said beware of stranger. Sure enough, the HOA president walked past by the next day and she stopped dead in her tracks. She marched right up to my door and rang the doorbell. When I opened the door, she said, "What is the meaning of this? Why does your sin say beware of dog when you don't even have a dog?" "Because I don't want any strangers walking up to my front door," I said. "Oh yeah, well, how dare you imply that I'm a stranger? Livere. I pay taxes here and I am certainly not a stranger." "Yeah, I know that you live here. That's why I bought a new welcome mat," I said. She started to rant about how I had violated some obscure rule in the HOA handbook about welcome mats having to say, "welcome," and things like that. But I told her that she could take it up with the person who wrote the HOA rulebook because I was unchanging the mat. And then I closed the door in her face. I could hear her ranting and raving outside, but I just ignored her. And then the next day, she tried again. She knocked on my door, and when I opened it, she said, "We need to talk about your mailbox." "What about it?" I asked. "Well, you need to get it fixed," she said. "It's damaged." "It's not my fault that it's damaged. You ran over it with your car." "You admitted that you ran over it with your car. So why are you asking me to fix it?" I said. "How dare you speak to me that way? I'm the president of the Fix the mailbox, or I'm gonna have you fined," she threatened. "Okay, fine," I said. "Sue me." And I closed the door. Later that week, I got a notice in the mail saying that I had violated some rule about mailboxes needing to be a certain height, and that I had until the end of the month to bring it into compliance or it'd be fined. So I went to Home Depot and got a new mailbox. The new one was shorter than the old one, which meant that I had to dig a little bit of dirt out in front of my house in order to meet the HOA requirements. But while I was digging, I hit something underground and I accidentally broke my sprinkler line. I sighed and thought, well, it's gonna be a long night. But before I got to work with the repair, I decided to check my mail. And sure enough, there was another warning from the HOA. This time it said that I had violated some rule about grass lengths, and that if my grass was uncut by the end of the week, I would be fined. I looked down at my shirt. I was wearing one of those official-looking surveyor shirts that I had gotten for a survey class I was taking, and an idea popped into my head. I grabbed a marker and wrote the words Certified Surveyor, Abobi Mainami. Then I put on my hard hat and grabbed my level and went to work on the sprinkler line. Before long, I had the line repaired and I even had the grass cut, but I still hadn't put up the new mailbox. I wanted to wait until after the weekend, because I didn't want to mess up the new grass seed. So I thought I'd better get working on that warning letter. I took out a fresh sheet of paper and wrote, "To whom it may concern," I wrote, "I am a certified land surveyor and I am writing to inform you that your violation notices have no legal standing. Furthermore, I am the registered owner of this property, and no HOA has the authority to tell me how to maintain my lawn or how tall my mailbox can be. Additionally, I am filing a complaint with the state licensing board about your unlawful practice of issuing fines to residents without a trial or other due process. Sincerely, insert name here." I printed it out, folded it up, and stuck it in an envelope addressed to the HOA. Then I sealed it and dropped it in the mailbox. On Monday morning, I went out to get the mail, and I found that the HOA letter had already been delivered. I could see that the letter had been crumpled up and shoved in the mailbox. They hadn't even bothered to flatten it out, and the look on the president's face when she read that letter was priceless. It was the same look she must have had when she got my last letter, because soon after, I got a letter saying that they had canceled my fine for the mailbox. Then a few days later, I got another letter saying that they had canceled my fine for the grass length. But I hadn't heard the last from the HOA. A few weeks later, I was sitting in my truck, outside my house, waiting for my wife to finish up at the store. I was idling the engine because the AC was blasting and I had the windows up. Suddenly, I heard a loud knock on my door and I turned to see the HOA president standing there with a wild look on her face. "Why are you idling your car?" she demanded. "What do you mean? It's my car. I can idle it if I want to," I said. "Well, you can't do that. It's against the law," she said. "Yeah, it's against the law to waste gas. But it's also against the law to park like this. You're blocking my access to the sidewalk," I said. Well, I'm gonna have you towed," she threatened. "Go ahead and tow my truck. It's not my fault that you can't parallel park," I said, and I started laughing. She hated it when I laughed. She always hated it when I laughed, especially after she tried to get me towed. Then she started threatening to fine me for blocking the sidewalk, but I reminded her that I wasn't even parked there. I was idling because I was waiting for my wife to finish shopping. Plus, she had blocked the sidewalk herself when she came to my door to complain. But of course, none of that mattered because she was too busy being a dictator and enforcing her will upon us, poor subjects who just wanted to live in peace. "You're the worst HOA Karen I've ever met," I told her. "You are truly the worst HOA Karen I've ever met," she screamed back. Then she huffed off down the sidewalk, probably to call the cops. But I waited and waited and the cops never came.